Hey there, welcome to Journeys of Empowerment, the podcast that's on a mission to spark agency in each and every one of us. I'm your host, Michiel Soetjiet-Rijt, and in this show, we'll be diving into real-life stories, personal challenges, and incredible transformations with inspiring role models for social impact. Whether you're navigating on your own journey or helping others on theirs, this space is for you. But before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to thank our first sponsor, Neotopia, for believing in our mission. Neotopia empowers leaders, both formal and informal, to influence positive behavior change through proven organizational behavior management. Their training and coaching help teams create lasting culture shifts and drive performance with positive reinforcement. For more info, check them out at neotopia.nl. I'm beyond excited to introduce today's guest, Virginia Scheele, the incredible founder of Life of Gini. Virginia's mission is to empower overlooked minority groups through the transformative magic of travel. I first met her at Demo Day of the DNNL network, where she stood out as one of the 11 cohort members 2024. Her pitch wasn't just impressive, it truly resonated with me. Virginia's story of resilience, navigating mixed heritage, and pushing through 65 job rejections to launch her dream stuck with me. In this episode, we dive into identity, adversity, and how Virginia is building bridges through travel. Her tenacity and heart for creating spaces where others feel seen will leave you inspired to reflect on your own path. Let's jump into a highly energetic conversation. Here we go! Oh, sorry.
This is mental.
This is mental. Sorry, here we go.
Well, instantly fighting.
Let's. No. Yeah. I'm only obeying.
Yeah, apparently, this is easy. This never happens.
I think we should add this already in the conversation, and I think it's not about thinking. I will do it. So this is already the start. We just started.
So now everybody thinks.
Everybody thinks like, okay, what was happening before the pressed recording? Yes, then you had to be here.
Exactly.
That's for us. And so welcome.
Thank you so
Virginia,
much.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I was so looking forward to it because you are now the third alumni of the cohort 2024 of the beautiful network of DNNL, and you pitched there Life of Gini. So let's start with Life of Gini.
Sure. Life of Gini is my travel company, and I founded it in 2023 in December 28th actually, so that's quite close to the launching date. And it was work in progress. So in April I got connected to the Dutch New Narrative Lab and learned all amazing things there. And I got to pitch at this demo day, and we met there, and I really kicked it off really well, I think. And
you did.
Yeah.
You did. Were you nervous?
Yes, I was very nervous. It was not easy. It was like, okay, now I need to remember like these 3 minutes of text exactly in the way I studied it. And that's so hard. That's really hard.
It went perfect.
I know.
Okay.
No,
okay.
But I was so nervous. And then actually, because I was nervous the whole evening, and when I took the stage, then instantly I was like, oh, fine, I'm doing well. I know my story. And if I forget something, that's also fine.
It's interesting that you say that you became very nervous. And Journeys of Empowerment is also about claiming agency. And it's interesting that we already found a topic that we can dive deep into. Can you share what helped you in this, because nervous, are you the whole way nervous also during the pitching, or is it just the way to pitching and then all of a sudden what helps you?
Yeah, it was the way to pitching, so not so sorry. It was the way to the pitching and to the date, because it was like it was just challenging, and what helped me was actually starting to believe in myself that I have this story, because it's my company, so of course I have the story, but it's like the anxiety of like, oh, I need to remember everything. I need to do everything well. Those kind of things. And then I started to practice with Anne from Zephyr.
Yes.
Another amazing company. And we were just like pitching to each other and then also in a digital meeting just to each other. And I'm not sure if we recorded it as well, but because we practice it together, then I gained confidence like, oh, it's not so bad as I think it is. Because I always practice pitches on my phone with audio messages or the video notations you can do through WhatsApp. Because that's also like with a timer very, very well to be...
1 minute.
Exactly.
1 minute pitch.
Exactly. So that's amazing to practice. But that's like... Sometimes I struggle, like, remember the important things. And then I'm like, okay, it doesn't really matter if you forget something. It's just the energy... If you say the main things, then that's all right. And if people want to know more, then they should just talk to you.
Steering curiosity and reach out.
Exactly.
And that's the main reason for pitching, because you can't say anything, you can't say everything. The most essential part is, who are you and why are you doing what you do and what do you want to achieve and how do you think you're going to make money out of it, right?
Exactly.
And, especially when you're pitching to investors. And let's dive right away into Life of Gini itself, because I think the audience need to know what beautiful mission you are on and also why.
Okay, amazing. So Life of Gini is a travel company that empowers the overlooked. And with overlooked, that's an intentional word I chose because... Well, it doesn't need to be overlooked, can also be overly in the spotlight. But by this, I mean minority groups. But overlooked feels a little bit more empowering because sometimes certain people in society, so say bicultural, queer community, people with accessibility needs, refugees, whoever, they face certain challenges in society, even nowadays just in normal society, so to say. And through my travel agency, I really want to empower them through travel, because I think, or I really believe that travel is like more of a diplomatic mission. So it can really connect people across different cultures. You can educate yourselves, others. You can really create connection back again, because at this moment, I think we're disconnected. And through traveling and empowering these people specific, I feel they can really... do transformative work in one way or another.
Beautiful. And when you say disconnected, I want to make assumptions about what I think you mean with it. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your vision on disconnected? What do you mean?
Yeah, let's maybe take it close at home. Like, the world is quite disconnected. Like, people are really on opposite sides of the table and really not listening to each other and think like, you're just so stupid because your religion is this, or your opinion about a certain topic is like this. And it just goes like, not in a way that people get connected again, but they really do not try to listen and understand each other. Because I think, despite me being a company specialized in overlooked people, I feel like humans, like people, do have more in common than they have differences. And that's something people sometimes forget. And through my company, I hope to bring the world a little bit closer together.
And more on the practical, that's of course amazing. And on the practical side, when people visit your website, what can they expect?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Yeah, good question. No, how it does work is that they can book workshops and events, retreats. Those are within the Netherlands at this moment, but the vision is global. But they can also book trips. So, for example, in April, we have Back to the Roots trip to Suriname. Because I have roots in Suriname, India, and Netherlands, and I've never been to Suriname.
All right, so that means India you have been also...
No, also never.
Not... Okay,
no,
so
never.
Not India, not to Suriname.
Exactly, and those are my roots. So, yeah, it's logic that it should be something like that. And, of course, I'm not the only one who's Surinamese, born and raised here, and maybe never been to Suriname.
No, beautiful. beautiful. And are you going, before you go with the group, are you planning to go yourself first? Or is this the first time with the group going there? What?
Yes, I think the last one. So first time with the group.
Yeah.
And I have the two amazing local partners. So one of them is my financial advisor.
Yeah.
She's, during winters over there. And some other agency also as well. So, together we hope to make something beautiful. And maybe, because it's still work in progress, of course, maybe I can go like a little bit some days before, so I can actually maybe enjoy the experience by myself.
Well, let's come back to Life of Gini a little later and dive into, and what is, where are you at this moment in your entrepreneurial journey, and maybe even a critical ask that pops up. But for now, very interesting. You said in a split second, you said Surinamese, Indian, and Dutch.
Yes, definitely.
Where do you want to start?
Well, it's easy. I connect 4 continents, like Asia, South America, Africa, Europe.
Wow. And that brings me to your upbringing, and who is Dutch? Who is Suriname? Who is? Tell us more. Okay. It's great intersectionality right away.
Exactly. And I've been born and raised in Zeeuws-Vlaanderen, so southwest of the Netherlands.
It sounds funny. That's why I laugh. I'm laughing. I'm born. Born also. Eh?
Born and raised.
Also in
Zeeuws-Vlaanderen.
Zeeuws-Vlaanderen.
In a small village called Hoek, near Terneuzen.
Hoek.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Corner.
Yeah.
No, I'm born and raised there. My parents, my dad is Surinamese Dutch. So he has Surinamese dad and a Dutch mother. So I have my last name also to thank to my grandmother on that side. Yeah. And my mom is from India. She's adopted and she came to the Netherlands when she was 6 or something. And, she entered, I think, through Maarsen, so near Utrecht, then Nijmegen, and in the end ended up in Zeeland, in Terneuzen, where she met my dad. And, that story, and then I'm here.
Yeah, beautiful. And are you alone, or do you have brothers, sisters?
You actually met my sister.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, definitely not. No, I have a sister and a brother. They're not family of each other because they are from both sides of the family. My parents separated when I was 4. Yeah. Life continued. And then when I was 7, my sister came in my life. And when I was 9, my brother came into my life. So my mom has another daughter with another man, and that's my sister. Yeah. So she's Indian Dutch. So that's Indian her. Those are her roots. And my brother is from my dad's side, and my stepmother. And my stepmother is Dutch, Molux. I'm not sure how you say that in English.
Moluccan, I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. So those are my brother's roots, and they're not connected. So I usually don't see them that often together, but sometimes at birthdays, it's so funny to see, this is my family. They're really my brother and sister, and it's so interesting that I'm the only one connecting them. Yeah,
that's interesting. You are the intersectionality within your own family.
Definitely.
That's interesting. And your mother is adopted.
She's adopted, yeah.
Okay. That's the personal. All right. Wow. And from India also.
From India as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And she was 6 years old. Okay. And may I ask a question about? Sure. Are you having conversations about adoption? About the things she goes through? Yes or no? What kind of conversations do you have about her being adopted, and how openly? And I ask it also, to be honest, for myself, because I've upgrowing girls, and I want to have open conversations about it, but I don't know. Yeah, if how others have experienced that, and you being the second generation after adoption.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, now you point this out, that's something interesting, because somewhere during my life, I really needed to dive into myself a little bit deeper. So that also means your roots and like acknowledging that, I'm born and raised Dutch. I speak Dutch. I even spoke very plat Zeeuws earlier on in my life. I forgot sometimes some words, but I forgot the dialect.
You think you do?
Yeah, I think I do. But you heard my sister and she's like totally...
When you're a little bit knorrig, you still can hear it.
Definitely.
That was this morning.
Yeah, still a little bit.
No?
Okay,
let you be knorrig, because if this is knorrig, then it's okay.
Exactly. No, so I dive deeper into my own roots, like acknowledging, like, okay, I'm Indian and I'm Surinamese as well. And also, like, that also means West Africa.
Yeah.
So out of my own interest, I dove deeper into those topics. And somewhere beginning of this year, actually, I opened up the conversation with my mother about adoption, about India, and about like her story, because I know the story part. I know parts of the story, but she also forgot most of the story, and she was at an age that she's very aware. So it's somewhere deep within her still. And she was actually like, okay, maybe we can dive into the topic. So we got all the adoption papers beginning of this year. I had a little bit more time on my hands, so I could visit Zeeland a little bit more often than I used to do. And together with my sister and my mom, we literally had all the adoption papers like spread around the table and tried to make a timeline. And we did that like occasionally, like monthly or something. But I must say it stagnated a little bit because we got a bit stuck in a journey, because it's very hard, and it's also like diving into your mother's trauma, of course. But it was also somewhat healing to do that with the three of us. To dive into that.
I can imagine that it's part of the healing journey to do it together with your... So if India and Luna are you listening right now, and of course Lila, the youngest one, I'm very open to do this with you three whenever you're ready. We talk about everything. I'm open to talk about everything. And so, but beautiful. And how is that for your mother? How those kind of digging into blind spots, not being aware of a lot of things, then finding out, hey, there's more tension about this, which I wasn't aware of. I can imagine. So, but stop filling it in, Michiel. Just listen.
Oh, no. That's perfect. Yeah. I think it was beautiful and hard for her as well. Because, we don't have like literal answers. We haven't been there. We have some addresses of like the first places she went to within the Netherlands. So we can actually maybe start from there and discover a little bit more. But this is like such a personal journey. So I think it takes a little bit time, also mentally. So also mental time. And it was actually something I'm very happy or appreciative that I know my roots. I know my story. I know who my parents are. I don't have that... Well, I do have a little bit of an identity struggle because one of my parents has this struggle as well. So that goes on to my generation as well. But I'm so happy that I know I'm born and raised here. These are my parents and this is how life moves forward. But looking back, so also to the Indian roots part or the Surinamese roots part, that's really something as of last couple of years that I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more about my identity than just being Dutch, so to say.
Yeah, of course. And on your father's side, is there also that much openness to dive into and to have a conversation about it?
It's interesting because my dad is like Surinamese Dutch, so to say. And he's also born and raised in Zeeland. And now he lives in Maasluis and works at the port of Rotterdam. Yeah. And he is a little bit, how do you say this in a nice way? He's like not fully aware of his own roots, so to say. So also the Surinamese part is something he pushes away a little bit. So I must say that also from both sides of my parents, something about culture, whether it's Indian, Surinamese, I didn't get that with my upbringing, so to say. And conversations with my dad about roots are sometimes quite hard because he's like actively rejecting that part of himself that he is as well Surinamese. Mm-hmm. And also his father actually died some months ago, I think. And we don't have that much of contact, so to say. So it was not something actively, but he is the Surinamese part, and he's the only one connecting to Suriname. And I tried to get my dad like, oh, do you actually want to join on a trip to Suriname? And he was saying, no, I don't want to do that. And like, oh, I'm so disappointed. So I also prolonged going there because I really wanted to do something with my dad about that. But he wasn't open to that. And then not so long ago, we had a dinner and I asked my dad like, hey, how's your dad doing? Because it's a granddad, but not really a granddad because I don't know this person that much. And it was very strange. Like the Monday after that dinner, this was a Saturday. The Monday after that dinner, he texted me like, oh, your granddad passed away Saturday. And I was like, how is this possible?
It's universe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Interconnected universe.
Definitely. I didn't have a negative feeling or something, but I never
just popped up.
It literally just popped up. So that was amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
And also sad, but also amazing.
Yeah. And what I also hear is that both parents were maybe trying to fit in where they are right now, and although being different outwardly, right?
Definitely.
That's really recognizable. Growing up in Beeldhoven, New York, and Amersfoort, and I really grew up. I fitted in, although I was different. but I don't necessarily see myself as different or denial. It was denial to fit in because we all want to belong and to fit in.
Exactly. No, and that's interesting because, me as well, growing up in Zeeland is hard if you're different. So only that is hard enough, but also with my parents. From my dad's side, I don't know that much about these experiences, but on my mom's side, and also on my own side, some people are making monkey sounds behind you. Yeah, literally those kind of like really racist things. And because you live there and you're just living your life, then you just... how do you say?
Wave it away?
Wave it away. And you're like, okay, I continue my life and all those kind of things. But especially with my mother, I experienced also these kind of things. And she's also quite defensive. So if someone stares a little bit too long at her, she already assumes it's a negative way. And it's not always negative, of course. Because sometimes people also look like, wow, your hair is beautiful. Mm. That's, for me, usually the case. That especially little kids in villages that don't have that much diversity, so to say, they really stare, but it's usually like at the hair, like, oh my God, that's such...
They almost want to touch it, and you're like, hands off.
And this is seriously something in Zeeland when growing up, especially the older people, oh, can I touch your hair? And I'm like, no, you cannot. Or I didn't know it was weird at the time, and I was like, oh, sure. And now I'm like, don't touch my hair, please.
Yeah, of course, keep your distance.
Yeah.
And when you look back to your upbringing, and how does it feel when you're talking about sounds, monkey sounds? Because we're rapidly moving in our conversation, but I want to go to the feeling. What do you feel? Yeah. Because I feel plaatsvervangende schaamte.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. Guilt.
Guilt for
guilt and shame.
Definitely.
For you and your parents going through those kind of experiences. But how does it feel for you?
Well, as I said, at the moment these things happened, I was like living my life, continuing, and maybe not actively ignoring it, but not acknowledging it as well. Mm-hmm. So usually it made me feel usually mad, like, oh, the world is unfair or not justified and those kind of things. And actually, somewhere half my 20s, then I realized, oh, all this stuff happened, and this is all connected to how I look or what my identity is, so to say. And then I really got angry. So at the time, these things happened. Oh, and it's not like these things don't happen nowadays, actually. But nowadays, I'm instantly angry, and I can usually talk back like, hey, please don't behave like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I don't, because sometimes I also ignore the conversation. It depends on when to pick your battles.
Yes.
But when I was little or younger, I was not this aware of it being unfair because the way I look. And sometimes I took it personally and, how do you say it? Put it in my body. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, the body keeps the score. It's not about putting. It's about getting under your skin.
Exactly.
And the thing about denial, we can deny some sort of hurting feelings and whatever we try, but it gets under our skin. It gets in our central nervous system, and you have a bodily reaction when another time the same kind of feeling pops up. You have a bodily reaction prior to that you are really aware of what is actually happening.
Exactly.
And then you're like, where does this feeling come from?
Exactly.
This is strange.
No, and it was also beginning of this year. I went on a road trip together with my sister to Spain for business. So like scouting locations and going to a big congress, the Vitor Congress in Madrid for tourism. And Madrid, I've been there half a year ago and I had an amazing time. I was there apparently when it was Pride and with my dog. And I don't know, it was just like free and everyone was happy and everyone was very open-minded. And now this January, I was there with my sister. And my sister is like Dutch Indian, but she's very more light-skinned than me. And she has straight hair. So she's like maybe Spanish passing, so to say, even. Mm-hmm. And one day at this trip, we were in Madrid. And there were like on the same day, like I think 5 incidents of racism in one day. And that really,
against you?
Against me.
Against you or against you both?
No, against Mimi. So my sister didn't experience these things, but she could witness it when it happened to me. So one example was in public transport. I speak a little bit Spanish, or I started learning Spanish 1 year ago. I stopped now at the moment, but I spoke a little bit Spanish, and I really tried to get some tickets. So and apparently it wasn't that easy, or I was not at the right ticketing thing or whatever. And there was this elderly man next to me, and he got helped with someone that works there, like from buying the tickets to the system, the portals to walk through. Yeah. Like almost like taking him on his hands and going through the whole process. And with me, I couldn't buy the ticket, so I walked up to this lady that helped the elderly man earlier on, like, hey, can you maybe help me? And she... straight out, she looked at me, then she didn't look at me and she ignored me until I was like in her face. And then I asked like, hey, can you maybe help me with the tickets? Yeah, you need to have the other tickets or something. So she didn't even walk with me to the ticketing station. She just, how do you say it? She just pushed me away or something. Mm-hmm. And
deliberately trying to ignore you, although you were in her face, right?
Yeah, and then I was really in her face and she couldn't ignore me any longer. But that was like quite harsh. And at that time, I realized it was racism a little bit later on. But at that time, I was still like, oh, maybe you're just grumpy or something. But then I was like, no, you helped this elderly man just earlier on and are just deliberately ignoring me. And then I got the wrong ticket, couldn't get to the port. She ignored me again. And it was really hard and it was not nice.
What happens inside of you? What happens?
Yeah, anger. Right. A lot of anger.
Does it show or not? And do you express it or not? What do you do?
When I'm angry, I get passionate. So like telling this story, I get a little bit passionate and a bit angry. So passionate and angry, and sharing the story because it's still happening today. And what happens is I just get angry.
If we get back to that moment, what?
I'm fist bumping now.
Okay, don't go back to that moment right away. No, but let's go back to that moment, because is there, with some time in between now and then, is there something you would have done differently if you can rewind to that situation? What would you have done differently?
Well, after all the things happened and my sister passed through and I was like, okay, maybe on the way back, maybe you should do it and I should film it, and then I should try to do the same and you should film it. But that was like me being angry. So I was like, yeah, what's the point? Like, there's no point. I'm not sure if I would have done anything differently. Once I got my tickets and went through the system, I screamed, "You're a fucking racist." So I screamed that in her face. But then I was walking away, you know. But just so she's aware that this wasn't nice.
She couldn't ignore that one.
I hope so. But I'm not sure if that's like educational for her. But yeah, I don't know. Oh, wow. But it doesn't matter about her, but it's for me like getting it out of my system.
Yeah, no, but that's the reason why I asked this question was like, I was wondering, what did you specifically do or didn't do what you prefer to have done? So I was really curious, but now asking the question, it came out that you at the end of the moment, what did you scream?
I screamed, "You're fucking racist."
Okay, beep.
Yeah, exactly. No, but actually in the moment when she actively ignored me, maybe now because I'm also a little bit, well, I'm passionate, but I can also be a little bit more easygoing and sometimes like fight with words, but without being mean. So I can talk back and make my point without hurting someone, because this was also not maybe the way to do it. Maybe for a next time when something like this happens, instantly at that moment say, "Why are you ignoring me?" Like, just, how do you say it? Making people aware of their behavior so they know it actually affects you. Yeah. And if they don't do anything with it, that's all right. But like giving it back to them, like it's not it's not about me, it's about you.
That's a great question, because you can't go around it without answering, or even though if you would ignore it, it makes you think. It's a thought-provoking question with hopefully with the aim to make people more aware about their appearances and their behavior and how you come across. Wow, and your sister, that was you mentioned 5 moments, but your sister didn't have that experience at all.
She witnessed it because she already went through the portals, and she witnessed it, and she was like, "What the fuck is happening?"
No, but also not in the other times. So you mentioned we don't have to go in all the other times, but all the other times she doesn't. That's painfully interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and all right. So a little bit further back to your upbringing, because where we are looking for also in Journeys of Empowerment is there a strong relationship between how you grew up, your journey, your personal journey, all the way up to your professional journey. And also, is there a strong relationship to the mission of Gini? There is. But what are moments in your personal life, also from upbringing towards where we're now at, which were the sparks of agency to help you to become you?
Yeah, good. Interesting to talk about that, because also my upbringing, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine and happy, joy. It was a lot of struggle, a lot of pain, a lot of not being seen, not being loved enough, scarcity, all these kind of painful things. And I can dive a little bit into that. Like, my parents separated when I was 4. So that's also a little bit weird, but at the time you don't know any different, and that's not really challenging, but it became challenging when both of parents got new relationships and got new kids, and the attention just shifted to like the babies. And also my dad in the meantime moved away from Zeeland to the Zuid-Holland area, and it's not like I saw him at the same frequency. He always drove to Zeeland, come and get me and bringing me back. So actually nothing changed. But it's like the physical distance, apparently something changed. And both of the parents got new children and also new step-parents with that. And on my dad's side, my stepmother is a very lovely lady, so that's nice. But on my mom's side, the dad of my sister, he wasn't nice. He was, asshole, so to say. I was thinking, how am I going to pronounce it? And he doesn't deserve to be like mentioned even, but it wasn't a nice time. And in the end, they broke up as well. And then it was the three of us, so my sister, my mom, and me. But my mom was also like hurt from everything that happened in the meantime. So at a very young age, I needed to take care of our family. So cooking, doing the groceries, but also the accountability or the... how do we say this? The verantwoordelijkheid?
Yes, responsibility.
Responsibility,
yeah.
thank you.
No problem.
Like the responsibility of like, we were living in scarcity, also in money, so to say. And I remember having the responsibility of making sure there was food for 1 week, for example, with 20 euros. So I got the 20 euros cash from my mom because she was really not in a good place to really take care of herself or us. And I got the 20 euros and doing the groceries, but also got the responsibility of making sure there's enough food for 1 week. And 20 euros and food for 1 week, yeah, of course you can do that. And I learned to be resourceful out of that experience. But that's not something a child should like have the responsibility of.
When did your childhood end?
Well, at 10, I think.
Yeah.
But maybe even 7.
Yeah,
so,
that's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It
answer,
is.
But that's really hard because the roles change, the responsibility, feeling of responsibilities change. And what did it ignite in you?
Yeah, like never again, that first, so to say. So this made me really eager to prove myself and to make my own money, never to be dependable on someone else, also like not on a partner or something. But that's also the thing that's holding me back sometimes because, sometimes it's all right to ask for help and be dependable on someone else when needed. But like, okay, I need to make sure I can make my life in a way that I never have to be dependable on someone else. So also not for my luck, but also not on money or all this kind of thing. So it ignited like a very... very powerful fire to do some educations, finish those, and not have a good job or something because I wanted to be a veterinarian. So that's a good job, but it was not about the money, but it was like doing something you love, but also not to be dependable.
And how is that for your? And if that's a boundary, it's a boundary. But how is that for your sister? Is she also with the same? A mindset going into the world?
No, I think she... it depends how you see it, because on the one hand you can say she was a little bit more lucky on the experiences and being a little bit younger at those ages. Yeah. So she didn't have this responsibility of taking care. She was taken care of, so to say. But I don't know. I think she... also has her challenges, but on other parts of identity, so to say.
Of course, and that's up to her, maybe to come sometime to talk in the podcast. So you're invited.
I will tell her.
Okay. Well, she will listen. No, I met her this weekend, and I really love this weekend, Friday. And it was really nice to see you together, and the dynamic, a very interesting dynamic, and also interesting dynamic as if we know each other for a very long time, right? It was right away teasing each other and a little bit making fun of each other and laughing. Sometimes to a combination of, and very loud, and it was an interesting dynamic. And and to make it very personal, also from my side, what I love and what I'm starting. The journey started a little longer now for me to go inward and going back to my roots to India in the April 2023. But what I really love is to be surrounded with people also with a little bit more genetic markers as I have. And I grew up with any genetic markers around me, with similar genetic markers, I would say. And in Bilthoven, I was one of and then in New York, of course, but then Amersfoort, but primarily grew up in a white environment, and now I'm really feel surrounded. Like, hey, it's a sort of unfamiliar familiarity.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the right way to put it, because it is. We look a little bit similar, and then it feels unfamiliar, and yet it is familiar. But I love the feeling. And that's what you right away saw in the dynamic. It was right away, bum, 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 a little bit teasing, and I was like, huh? But we just met.
Exactly.
So that was interesting. So. I hear racism, I hear scarcity, I hear ending a childhood to become a sort of parenting role, responsible for householding and household, and then can you take us a little bit more through the journey towards where did you begin with work and college, and how did it? Because it's quite a journey.
Yeah, it's quite a journey, and actually, if we maybe tip on the racism part still a little bit at school. So this was still primary school. That is right. So until groep 8. Okay. You have the CITO exam where you are put on like the middle school. For your future, so to say. And of course, I had all these issues at home or responsibilities, and maybe, not maybe, like a lot of trauma still in me. And I'm still a little bit angry that like school, they said like, oh, your attention is somewhere else. And I was like, that was the moment you also should have, how do you say it, take action. But that's also impossible to do. I know that. But that's something I'm still a little bit angry about.
May I ask a question about it? What did you miss? Or in hindsight, what did you miss at that moment?
Yeah, like a parent that was there for me.
Yeah, but also on the school side.
Oh, on the school side. Yeah, like I'm happy the way I grew up, because I also got a lot of values and all those kind of things, but it wasn't always the safest situations. And instead of school blaming you for like being your attention elsewhere or what's happening, or you're behaving a bit different, so like blaming you, instead of that, like maybe asking questions, like empathizing
with you,
exactly,
and asking questions, and trying to understand, hey, but what's happening inside you and in your world and in your context, and
exactly. And that was not even the hardest part, because that happened, but with the CITO toots, it ended up like I could have been put in a HAVO VWO school, so to say. So that would make like becoming a veterinarian possible. And I wanted that since I was 3. So just mention that since I was 3. Okay, it was like the farrier, but whatever. I wanted to become a veterinarian. So that was my big little girl dream, so to say. I got this amazing score, and they still said like, oh, but your attention is elsewhere. Maybe you should try like one level lower, so go to MAVO HAVO. And that's not like I think at the time that was the right journey for me as well, and also to learn and to grow and all those kind of things. But I was actually for quite some time quite angry, because I ended up at MAVO, because of course with everything going on at home, it's not easy to do your school, right? No. And like you start to rebel a little bit. So I started like in puberty. So yeah.
No, you rebel? No, I can't imagine. I can't imagine you being a rebel.
I think I'm. I used to be a very silent and really timid, like an easy kid. Yeah, seriously. Like I was the silent one. My sister was the loud one.
Okay, when did that swap?
Yeah, that is interesting, because that's seriously interesting, because I was like, I was always like a little bit shy, right? And like I was shy, but I was always social, and I didn't know that. That's something I realized when I was a little bit older, because my parents said, oh, but when we were at Center Parks, you always tried to connect people, and you were shy, but you were like also like very social. But it switched. I think at 16 or 17 something. Because, at primary school, I just went through school and didn't get the best grades. But I got it. And I actually gained my best friends at those moments. So I'm very grateful for that journey as well. And then, I finished MAVO, then I did HAVO. And then during the middle of my first year with the switch from MAVO to HAVO, my mom met my bonus dad at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved from Zeeland to Soest, Utrecht.
Yeah, all right. Wow.
In the middle of like that switch year. So that was hard. And there I really started to rebel because I really just got like a little bit of my identity, like my own identity, so to say. And I was very angry to move. I was really not happy to move.
No, and it's a total different world where you moved to, right?
It was. People were so rude and direct, and they didn't understand me.
In
Soest.
In Soest, yeah? Oh.
They didn't understand me, and I was like, I'm just asking for 3 breads, but I was talking this like dialect that people didn't understand. So I learned the hard way. Okay, I start to have the Gooise R right now, but I lost it again. But
Gooise.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
All right. But that's a... And what age was that?
That was 2010, so 16, 17, I think.
Very pivotal moment in your life.
Yes.
And a very critical moment also in your upbringing, right?
Yeah, and also with the friends, like I said, like my closest friends nowadays are also most people from Zeeland, actually. They don't live there anymore. I understand that. But it was quite hard because then you have like this small community as a teenager around you of people that you really like. And you can be yourself with, and then you move to another city where people are, well, like especially the elderly people, they were a little bit rude, like they're just crossing the street, and I'm like, don't you see I'm also walking like this zebra path here? I don't know. But in the end, I learned to manage that. And also the school, my previous school in Zeeland, it was actually a very nice school. It was also a neat school, so meaning it was clean. Then I went to Soest, and that was like, because the school in Zeeland was also a Christian school, and I'm not religious, so to say, but parts of my upbringing were religious as well, not from my parents, but because of the school or grandparents and those kind of things. But I actually also value the values there. Yeah. And then I came to Soest with a mixed school, so to say, like not a specific religion, but like, I don't know, openbare school?
Yes.
Yeah, a public school, thank you. And like all these teenagers were wild, and there was like mess on the ground, and I was like, where am I now?
Culture shock.
Yeah, culture shock. Seriously, within the Netherlands.
Yeah. And what did they do?
Well, actually, now I'm very happy it happened at this time, because I think if I stayed in Zeeland in that vibe at that time I wouldn't have finished school. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have finished because I was way having fun, partying, whatever. And moving to Soest, instantly, it was interesting. Instantly, I also met new friends that are also my best friends nowadays as well. So actually, the best friends I gained from middle school or secondary school.
Yeah, that period of time in your life. Interesting.
So in Zeeland,
and you still have
them
as friends.
I still have them as friends, so that's amazing. So I fitted in. I didn't fit in exactly, but I fitted in quite well. And it was just 1.5 years. So after that, I needed to study. And it was sad because I couldn't go to veterinarian school because I didn't went through that. So I started life sciences. And when I was 18, I also got a nice boyfriend, a very healthy and safe boyfriend, so to say. And we were together for 7 years. And I think I'm forgetting the most important part here, by the way. My mom had this relationship with my bonus dad, but at 17, 18, they figured out, it's not working. So they separated. And I was like, okay, I just moved here. I made new friends. Now you're separating again. And she, in the beginning, she still lived in Soest, quite close by. And I was like, okay, maybe if I can still live here in a separate house, that would be amazing. And we managed to do that. But in the end, after some years, I'm not sure how many years, but after some years, she moved back to Zeeland. And I was like, okay, I have this possibility of doing my bachelor's also in Zeeland.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm not moving back to Zeeland now.
Your life was here, right?
My life started here.
Yeah.
So that was also like a very, like sad moment that she and my sister moved back to Zeeland. So also the contact at the time, well, because you start studying, you really don't have time to go without a driver license. 4 hours driving with a ferry or maybe with a bus to Zeeuws-Vlaanderen, because it's not that accessible by public transport. It is, but it takes time. So I was like, no, I'm not moving back. And also at that moment, or just before that moment, I'm not sure. But then I met my boyfriend at that time. And he was this safe, steady person in my life at that moment. So that was like, it was interesting. Like, okay, your parent moves away, but someone else that's like really critical for your development is staying. So that was, that was how I started my bachelor's.
Yeah, wow. And in all the whole journey, and what I notice of you and hanging out with you, and you are so positive and you're so driven and you're so, and I believe it's not a mask, it's you. You are so intrinsically driven to make things work, to figure things out. If it's your website or whatever, you will find a way, you will hustle your way through it.
Yeah.
And knowing a little bit more, learning a little bit more about your journey makes me curious that we all need role models.
Yes.
We all need certain people to look up to, and
I didn't.
That makes me really curious about who was your role model during these elementary years.
Actually, I don't think I had anyone that was really a role model, and I didn't realize I didn't have like this ambition to become one myself one day or something, and also this positivity. I have no clue where my optimism, my social capabilities, and also like finding resourcefulness. I think that's like rooted in me because like the challenges in my youth. So I think the resourcefulness is from that. The values are also like my parents. Both parents are they have great values, and also values I seriously also internalized as well. So like equality, fair things, and blah, blah, blah. But like role models, of course, like in my mind at a younger age, my parents were my role models, of course. But based on actions, honestly, they weren't, or not at the times I needed them the most. So I didn't have those. And it was something I needed to grow. So maybe it's interesting in this journey because, I started life sciences at 18, then at 22, 23, you finish or something, and then you start like working your full-grown person's first job, so to say. And then I broke up with my boyfriend at that time because we switched somewhere. It doesn't really matter. The relationship shifted from like needing, quote unquote, each other to like developing your own personality.
Yeah, you outgrew each other.
Something like that. And that's a little bit double, but that just happened. And then I was alone, also through my journey. And loneliness is something that happened at a very young age. Something that's like, when I was younger, I really couldn't. It's not like I could be very easily alone, and I need a lot of alone time. And loneliness is something that doesn't need to be negative.
No, exactly. And do you mean with loneliness, there's loneliness and there is solitude?
No, loneliness. Initially. Now it's more solitude. But
now it's more solitude, which feels fine, which feels
exactly
familiar also. Yet you're not alone anymore.
Exactly. No, and
you don't feel necessarily alone.
No, at this moment I know I have some people to call if I have challenges or something. But this loneliness was also some part of me, and also things that made me grow and learn. And after that relationship and then first job, so to say, then you're 25-ish or something, then really like processing everything that happened and all the trauma and all the drama and everything about that really started to surface. So also like the internalized racism, so to say, but also the challenges during life, they came up in, I don't even know in what way, but like an emptiness. So I felt empty, I felt not fulfilled. And I wasn't heavily searching on answers, but I was like, okay, maybe I should process everything that happened. And I think for me, I'm 30 at this moment. I think 25 till 30 was really a time of healing and unlearning. And at this time, I'm growing and ascending, or however you want to call it, again on being my authentic self. So, yeah.
Wow. Your authentic self, that's interesting. And growing, I see a lot of growth. I think about growth if I think about you. I don't know, but what makes me curious is where did you said you know role models. Where do you think the wisdom comes from? Are you reading books, or are you listening to podcasts? Or where does this wisdom comes from? Where does your internal compass comes from?
That's a very interesting question, because I don't have the answer to that. It's like, I've always had like this hunger for knowledge, so to say. So, not podcasts at that time. So I think, I'm not sure if there were podcasts, maybe they were on YouTube, but not like in the way it is nowadays. But like reading books, learning things. And also I was, until 25, I was also a little bit naive. So also the world problems, it's not like I didn't care, but I didn't, because I had already so much going on that I couldn't take on all the other things. But it was half my 20s that I started to educate myself, and also on politics. My ex-boyfriend and I really got sometimes like in fights, because he was like, start educating yourself in politics, because especially for you it's important. And I was like, oh well, whatever, I will vote baby, whatever. So that was also interesting, and it was from a loving way he asked me to do that. And it's something I can say now, but at the time I was like, no,
not for me.
Don't tell me what to do. So I started to educate myself through reading, talking, all those kind of things. But I'm not sure where this internal compass or wisdom exactly comes from. I also started to I'm a very analytical person, so to say. So I'm a very, started life sciences, so like biology, mathematics, chemistry, those kind of things. So that's a little bit how my brain easily works, so to say. So being open to alternatives like religion or spirituality, those are things I wasn't open to at all. And the last couple of years I'm also a little bit open to that, still skeptical, so to say. So it's not like still skeptical, because I'm a skeptical being apparently.
Are you? What do you mean by skeptical?
I'm like, okay, for example, my best friend and I, he's very into astrology, and I was like, I don't believe in it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm a Taurus, so to say. I'm very stubborn, apparently.
No, really?
Yeah, apparently. And
such a self-knowledge. Yeah, so good.
Yeah,
I really admire that.
Yeah, thank you. And we even got in a big fight one day and yelling at each other, and not about this, but also about this, so to say. And right now I'm like, okay, honestly, there haven't been moments that astrology was wrong about people or about me. So I'm still skeptical, but at this point it's right.
Does it help being skeptical?
Good question. I think for me, what works for me is like, I need to form my own opinion about things.
That's
so
good.
If people, for example, with religion or spirituality, and also the spiritual path, so to say, if someone 5 years ago would have said, you need to do this, I wouldn't have done it. I needed to be convinced by myself on learning about things, on reading about things, on making my own mind up about things. So whether it's about a certain opinion in politics, so to say, or if it's on spirituality or maybe on religion, I need to be educated by myself. Like, people can feed me knowledge, I like that, but I will not instantly agree with them. I might agree in the end, and when I was younger, I wouldn't say this. Nowadays, I can say, okay, I agree with you. It's a little bit pain.
Yeah, but agreeing with somebody is something different than acknowledging someone is right, right?
No, I think I will grow out of like being this stubborn and say, okay, you were right, that's true, okay, whatever.
I think when I look, that's why I asked the question, because it's related to your internal compass, I believe. If I listen to your amazing story and how deep can you go in 1 hour with such an challenging upbringing? And but I can imagine that it helps your the way you put it, being skeptical, helped you. I think also to overcome a lot of adversity, because although it happens, happens at that moment also to you, and you still always hungry to find out better ways. So it helps you it motivates maybe to find, okay, but it happens now. But it doesn't have to necessarily determine who I am, and what I really want out of life. So exactly. I think it's a superpower. In combination of the stubborn, I think it's especially when you become aware about it. So that's why I asked the question: how does it help, or does it help you? I think it did. Knowing a little bit more about your journey, so. I think you should cherish it, and because forming your own opinion, although growing up in such an environment with a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of pain, a lot of also racism, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So I really admire you, and thank you for your openness. And while we're heading a little bit towards the ending of, I think this wouldn't be our last conversation, at least I hope so. But for now, heading towards Life of Gini, and also how it all is related, your whole journey helped you to become the entrepreneurial, because it wasn't logical for you to become an entrepreneur.
No, definitely not.
What happened? What was the spark? What happened there? Because your whole beautiful. What happened?
Yeah, good question. Because that's also something I'm like, okay, how did I end up here? Because it wasn't my idea initially, so to say. Fast forward through my career. Yeah, so I started life sciences. I've been a microbiology technician for quite some time, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And that was actually, COVID is like within my knowledge field, so to say. And the government was looking for like a crisis organization to handle like the testing capacity, also for the public health. And that was on a national level. And I was still working at the laboratory at the time. And like the director of the microbiology there went into that team. And there was this email that went like, hey, we're looking for people with knowledge about the laboratory logistics that can help fight the COVID crisis response. And I was like instantly like, oh, that's interesting. It's because I was already looking for 1 year at like, okay, I really admire the work I do, but I feel there's something more. Like I feel unfulfilled. I need to talk to people and not be with the same people, with 30 people in one room, without being outside of it, without being able to make your creative ideas a reality, because you were operational and you could give the creative ideas to the people that could do something with that. And I also tried actually for the jobs that were maybe a little bit more creative, got rejected to all. And long story short, this email came through and I was like, okay, it's way above my knowledge and my skills. But I will start talking anyways. And it was not because I knew this person very well that was there. It was like a microbiologist, and I knew him, but I didn't knew him that well. And they were like, oh yeah, you should come talk. And then I started talking to someone else, so not this person I knew. And she was actually maybe the first role model, so to say. So Virginia Scheele, if you're listening, this is on you.
In a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way, definitely.
This is on you.
Yeah. No, but how do you say it? Yeah, I started talking with her, and she was a molecular microbiologist, so also technical, but also creative. And she started talking, and she was like, "Oh, I think you're a good fit. You can talk really well, so you can do the presentations to all the laboratories. And well, there are 3 ways you can get hired. You can keep your contracts at the lab and get paid out of that. Of course, you can maybe apply to Ministry of VWS.
Yes.
Or you could become a freelancer." And I had like this full-time contract at the laboratory, and I didn't even, well, of course I thought about it, but then I was like, oh, freelancer, I've never thought of that, and how does this work? And well, this lady talked me through like all the steps, like you go to KVK, you start getting a separate bank account and all this kind of thing. So she just, in a short time, like half an hour or something, she talked me through the process. My mind processed it, and I was like, oh yeah, well, why not? Because after COVID, of course, I can go back to the laboratory if it will not work out. So that was like my way of thinking. So that's where I became an entrepreneur.
Wow, beautiful. And it's great that it happened.
Yeah.
That it put you on the path towards, and then you became a freelancer.
Yeah.
And where is the connection then with starting Life of Gini then?
That's also like during the freelancing, I did a lot of COVID jobs, projects, some other things. So also with one of the public health sectors, like also the refugee coordination for Ukraine.
Yeah,
so the social part was always, it's a red thread also with microbiology, so to say. So social was also a little bit inside of me. And then at my last job, projects at EDVM.
In the build.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So always going back
I still vividly have a picture of the boring building in the build.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's a beautiful building, actually.
Oh, no, maybe it's a new one then now. But
no, I'm not sure.
Right.
It's an old one.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Oh, in my memory then.
Yeah, maybe your memory is right. And we just have different opinions and beautiful or not.
You're right. If it makes you happy,
this was
you're
easy.
right.
This was easy. I should do this all more often.
No, don't.
Okay, just kidding.
This one was for free.
No, but during that job, it was a great project as well. But I got to thinking like, okay, honestly, I don't want to be dependable on a project for my income. So I should start a business. And at that time, I was still thinking about maybe a swiping app, not romantically, but like if you're on solo travels, like to connect with other people, to have dinner. So that was something that was always like a little bit in my mind, but not like doing it myself. But it was more like, oh, it would be useful.
Be great if that was it. If it was there,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit that was marinating in my mind, so to say.
Marinating in your mind. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And I got to research a lot and absorb all the knowledge on entrepreneurship, but also on like topics like how can you find like what you should do. And then I was like, okay, I might want to start doing this app, but for this app it would be easy if I would start a travel agency. I didn't know a travel agency was this hard to start, but okay, apparently I thought a little bit easier about that at that time. So I was like, okay, travel agency, and then you can work like remote and blah, 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 blah. So it was a little bit more like from the freelance mindset instead of like the founder mindset. But it was a bit more romanticized in my head, like, okay, I start a travel agency, then I start building this app, and then I can just live my life or something.
Just that.
It was always with like the vision of inclusivity and sustainability in there. So I was like, okay, in tourism, I find it quite annoying that like mass tourism, I find annoying, like certain destinations that are being exploited, I find really annoying. So I've seen all these things during my 20s, so to say, during my travels. Yeah. So I was like, I saw it and I memorized it somewhere.
Yeah, of course, and it made an impact, and really impact on how you see the world and how you would love to see the world.
Exactly. And also by booking trips, for example, I usually traveled solo.
Yeah.
And with booking trips, I was like, okay, I will not name names, but like the big tour operators, they didn't really meet my needs. So there was like this, something was like rubbing or like disturbing me, that I was like, okay, there's something there, but I couldn't quite get it yet.
It was lacking, missing something.
Yeah.
It was annoying.
It was
lacking,
annoying.
Missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Something-ish.
Something-ish. So that's a little bit how it started. So it's not like the beautiful story, like I went on this trip and I had this experience. It was like a little bit of this. And then, I started to develop the idea of Life of Gini. So initially that would be a solo travel platform with inclusivity and sustainability as values.
Yes.
And then like the journey continued. And like beginning of this year, my freelance job stopped. And I tried, I was like, okay, let me give myself 1 month to develop the idea a little bit better and then find a freelance job next to it and then develop it slowly. Well, that didn't quite happen like that. And the idea was still solo travel agency and the swiping app, so to say. So those were the rough ideas. And I did some educations in tourism as well to gain the knowledge I need for like...
the proper understanding, okay, what is tourism?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I'm not from that industry for sure. But life didn't happen like that. It was so weird because I really wanted a freelance job, like for income reasons, but also like stability and all those kind of things. And I've put out 65 letters for applying to jobs, and not only freelance, also like paid jobs. That's like my last resort. I don't want a paid job, but if it's needed, then I would be open for it. 65 rejections. So that was hard. And I was still in the mindset of I need income, and starting this business is far from launching.
Yeah.
It's not ready to go to market because I'm still developing the idea. I'm still in the creative flow.
It's still becoming an MVP, but it's in the beginning stage of the MVP, right?
Exactly. And life didn't happen like that. So all the rejections, and then I had like to deal with the rejections because that's also hurtful, of course. And also to deal with like running out of cash flow, but also with, okay, I have this small company idea, but I have time now, so let me dive into it a little bit deeper. And I feel now that all these struggles of beginning of this year were actually for me to really dive deeper into my company idea or in my values and in my idea. So instead of just solo travel and maybe empowering people that are traveling solo, it was not about those people. And I didn't realize that at the time. So I dove deeper into the topic. And also Dutch New Narrative Lab came around, so to say, and they asked like, okay, what's your market potential? So with the sum calculation. And I was like, okay.
That's like the total addressable market, you mean?
And then also the idea of like, okay, maybe I shouldn't focus on solo travelers, but maybe I should focus on bicultural people and maybe on queer community. And also these ideas didn't came naturally to me. It was out of conversations with people I love, and that those ideas came there. And it was like then when they asked like, okay, what's your market potential? I started calculating it initially from the singles, so to say, so the solo travelers, not always single, but like based on that, I started to calculate, and I was like, oh my God, that's a lot. And then I started diving a little bit deeper, like, okay, but if I calculate it for these specific target markets, and I even dove deeper. So I even said, like, for example, like African descent people, like how many people do live in the Netherlands with African descent? So I even specified it like that. So Asian community, African descent, and I even calculated like that, and I was still like, oh, that's still like, I don't have it by head now, but I was like, oh, that's a bigger number than I initially thought.
Huge. Yeah.
And I was scared then because my idea was like a little bit of the freelance idea, like remote work, do a little bit of that and make enough money and have a good and comfortable life. That was the initial idea, right? And then I was like, okay, but this is a whole damn company. So I was a little bit scared, and I started having conversations also with Ruben.
Yes, Ruben Bravo of DNNL, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, but what makes you scared from this potential to maybe stepping into a bigger role? Because I think you have it in you to step into the bigger role as well. And I was like, yeah, I'm just very uncomfortable. But I overcame that, and I really started researching everything I needed to know for like what I'm doing today. And I also got connected to the OMAC community.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, you were there as well, of course. Yeah, that's where we initially met, actually.
I think so. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that was the first time, and then right away after was the second time. Was it the cohort in July?
Yeah, that's true.
2024.
Yeah. And we talked earlier about identity and feeling at home. And of course, I'm more Indian than I am African descent, honestly, if you calculate it in percentages. But visually, I'm like black and I have curls. So visually, I look black, so to say. So with the OMAC community, that was like a community for African descent people, and saying like all Africans, we're all one, or we're all the same. So it doesn't matter if you're from Morocco or from Ghana or whatever, we're all the same, or from Caribbean or Suriname. So also that's included. We're all the same. And I don't know, I started feeling so at home and started really stepping into my own identity as well, because that was also a road a journey I already was making, but not that aware. And that was like where it clicked, like, okay, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm not Asian, I'm all of them.
The intersectionality of all of it.
Yeah. Exactly, because sometimes I struggled, like, am I black, am I white, am I this? It was a struggle internally, but I'm all of that.
Very relatable, I think, to a lot of listeners, and also for me myself.
Yeah.
So that is, I can imagine, and that click, and then what does that do? Some people are happy that it click and just let it click.
Yeah, okay,
but it's not you.
No, that's not me. Indeed,
it ignited something.
Yeah, it made me like aware, like this journey towards like that identity, like who you are. Stepping into your roots, whether if it's far away or close at home, so to say. That was like the moment I was thinking, okay, so Life of Gini should be... and it was also a lot of conversations with other people and those kind of things. But it is more about the journey towards your stepping into your identity, whether that's because of ethnicity or sexuality or maybe accessibility needs or something else. It's like fully embracing your identity and loving yourself because of it, and not like feeling like you're weird because of it, so to say. So yeah, that's what the click made, and then it started moving forward. And I was still a little bit, I am still a little bit scared, because this journey is beautiful and it's lovely to share it here. But the journey is also, it means that I need to go out with this opinion, or with my opinions about identity and all the struggles I had, and also make the loved ones in my family or in my surroundings aware that this was the journey I had in the last years. Mm-hmm. So they will know I have an opinion about blackface. They will know I have an opinion about politics. They will discover that part of me that I haven't spoken to with them, because I spoke to them about these topics with people that or looked like me or understood the challenges, and not with like other people, so to say.
I'm processing what you just said, and I'm trying to think that it might be also feeling relieving. Or not?
Yeah.
Because it kept you, it was partly unconscious.
Yeah.
Partly deliberately conscious, but in denial, or you didn't openly speak about those kind of struggle.
Nope.
Where are you the most afraid of?
Yeah, good question. Because actually the things I am afraid of already happened, like being financially ruined at the moment because starting the company, like that was maybe my biggest fear. And also because, as I said, I didn't have that many role models. So the role models I have now are from my entrepreneurial journey as a freelancer, but also as a founder now. So especially the Dutch New Narrative Lab community, that's something I really find, if I have struggles, I go to them.
Beautiful.
And I really needed to learn, like, I shouldn't go to friends with struggles about being a founder, because they love me, but they will say not the right thing. They will say exactly the thing that I'm already insecure about and confirm the insecurity. So that's not like where I need to gain that empowerment to move forward or push forward. And I lost what I was trying to say. Can you maybe...
Yeah, well, I was looking at that you were... now I'm also a little bit, because I was...
About feeling relieved and not sharing the challenges and being scared to step into that role. I think the most scared part is already behind me, so there's nothing really holding me back anymore, because everything that I used to be or used to know, that's already sort of stripped away. Not really, but like figuratively. And now it's just time to step into the role and let it flow. And all these amazing ideas, all the challenges and the stories, they need to get out there.
Is there a sort of underlying message here that, on the one hand, embracing discomfort and do it anyway, like I mentioned in my comment, because when I look at you, and sometimes I see something is scaring you, but you do it anyway. And it makes you feel awkward. And on top of that, you put it out on LinkedIn. So that's I think a very admirable superpower. And on the other hand, also becoming more and more aware of your own journey, and also your what helped you to become you in the person you are. I think there's a lot of value for our listeners in the whole journey you made. And so now Life of Gini, we're now here, and I think if you may. Well, I think there are many questions in this stage of the company, I can imagine. But what is with coming in the coming 2-3 months? What can we expect of Life of Gini? I think that's also a part, because I know, of course, a little thing. But what is for the coming 3 months will be crucial for your company? 3 to 6 months. Share, please. And also, if there is something you would love to ask to the audience, also good. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Well, actually, at this moment, the whole strategy is established, so it's go-to-market time. So that means my website is live, and people can book amazing workshops, retreats, and trips through the website. I'm also hosting an amazing Gini Impact Gala, 14th of March.
Woohoo!
Yeah, looking forward to it.
No.
And I'm also starting my crowdfunding round next month. So those are the 3 big things. So like either become a fan or customer, so to say. That's empowering, of course. Either fund or share the story, or just join the Impact Gala. So.
Wow, and then that's great. And I think we will put something in the show notes to make it really concrete, and that where people can find you, and also on LinkedIn, I guess, and of course the website. And we have to follow you. We have to be there. You have to meet you. And if there would be one single piece of advice you would love have had, well, let's say 15 years ago.
Oh, if you would have said like this year, I would have an instant answer for you. But
it's too easy.
15 years ago. Oh, that was like then I was 15. So that was the age where I started moving to Soest. I'm not sure what advice I would have wanted at that moment. Yeah, well, okay, maybe I know it, because for me personally, it would have been amazing to have a role model or someone safe, so to say, that was there for me, that would listen to me and fulfill my needs. Because one of the challenges of my life was also grieving for the things I didn't have, or grieving for the things I experienced.
I get goosebumps.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Like my therapist says, did you grieve about this? I'm like, yeah, sure, I've grieved. And
if that's the answer, you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't.
Wow.
And I think I went through that grief now. But I think if there was someone in my younger ages, like taking me by the hands and making this journey a little bit less with challenges, it's not like I love challenges. I actually enjoy that journey as well. But
you're addicted to challenges.
I'm sure,
be honest.
I'm sure. No, otherwise it's too easy.
Yeah.
But if someone safe would have been there for me and would maybe like be that role model I actually just learned like 10 years later, that would have been amazing. So it's not like a lesson or an answer, but like someone being there for me. Yeah,
luckily you do have that now in your entrepreneurial journey and being blessed with good friends. And but that is during our conversation, multiple times the song of Whitney Houston, "The Greatest Love of All," popped up in my head. Do you know that song?
I'm not sure. Maybe you should try singing.
No, don't you? I think we will end here because it's a podcast. It's about having a conversation, and I will not sing. No. I think under the shower I can sing, but my daughters are very honest about that. You don't.
No, okay.
Please don't start. So don't do that in the podcast either. Okay.
No, honestly, with songs, I sometimes need to listen to it.
Okay,
so
but we will go and listen to it because she literally sings. Mm-hmm. It will resonate, and I will put it also in the show notes because for great. People who doesn't know that number, it's. I think it will. You will. Let's just listen to it. I would love to thank you so much for your openness, for your sharing your journey. I have tremendous respect for you where you are at this moment and you being you. And if you would love to end this episode with saying something to the audience, go ahead. But I would love to thank you very much. And where I can support you, I will support you. And I believe in you. I'm already a big fan of you. I became a big fan of you. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much as well.
Great. Oh, and one more thing. A quarterly foundation allyship shout out. This quarter, I'm honored to spotlight Fresh Table Foundation, a true pioneer in social impact. Fresh Table is changing the world one meal at a time, empowering former refugees, promoting sustainability and advancing social inclusion through its work. Their vision of an inclusive, equal and sustainable world aligns beautifully with the mission here at Journeys of Empowerment. Join Fresh Table's mission to make an impact. To learn more and support their groundbreaking initiatives, visit freshtablefoundation.nl today. Together we can make an impact and a difference, meal by meal.